the greatest Superman story ever told with beautiful artwork, a dynamic story, and I do not get it. Now, first, don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's a bad story. I've always considered this to be a good 7 out of 10. Maybe 7.5 out of 10. I've never considered this to be a bad story. But this constantly gets called the greatest Superman story of all time. And this is actually volume 1. I got both parts of it. I don't have the omnibus, but I have all of them here. And although I think it's a good story, I have never really understood what all the fuss is about. As far as the greatest story of all time goes, I think that, it's got a lot of great things in it. First, I'll tell you what I like about this, because I really do like the story. It's just not one of my favorites. One of the things I liked, which James Gunn may do something like this. By the way, this movie apparently is influencing in some way. I can see many of the ways in the trailers of the new Superman movie. So I want to talk about why I'm worried about that in some ways, because I'm excited for the new movie. But the fact that this is one of the influences worries me a little bit. So I like in the beginning here, he kind of he rushes over the origin. And I love Superman origin stories, but you kind of get tired of reading them. And, in the movies, you get tired of seeing them too. So it's kind of fun how he just put Doom Planet, Desperate Scientist, Last Hope, Kindly Couple. And then there he is. That's a really cool way to introduce that. Grant Morrison is a great comic writer and really knows his comics. I really enjoyed his run on the New 52. I've got it up on that shelf. I brought some other comics to show you, but that shelf behind me, you see right there. There's a whole bunch of graphic novels up there, and then I got stuff in boxes. But he's really knows his comics, and I appreciate that so much when he's writing them. Like his New 52 run, his Superman, when he started him, he had the T-shirt and all that. He was basically a powered down Golden Age kind of Superman, and then he grew his power to be like godlike or whatever it was. But Superman Allstar, he starts off powerful Superman. Now, by the way, there's going to be some Superman All-Star spoilers in this video. If you haven't read it and you don't care, keep watching. But if you want to read it for yourself, maybe don't let me spoil everything for you, because some of the spoilers are why I don't like it. So, spoiler number 1 on here. The first thing that happens in this book, which isn't really a spoiler, it's literally like the first thing that happens. Superman gets overexposed to the sun and slowly starts killing him. And he finds out pretty much instantly that overexposure has made him extremely powerful, given him a new power, which I hate. I never like it when they give Superman new powers. Fun fact, back in the original comics in the 1930s, Superman's powers were a bit like Batman's utility belt. They were always cropping up with new powers whenever the need arose. That's kind of what it felt like. It was like, oh, so he can hypnotize somebody. Okay, all right. He had all kinds of stuff that just is not the way it is now. But they gave him this new power, which gets utilized very little throughout the entirety of this 12-issue series. And he is already dying. Now, I hope this is not some sort of foreshadowing for the upcoming movie, because Superman dying has been done to death. Okay? They did it great in the 90s with the Death and Return of Superman storyline, the Reign of the Superman. That was awesome. I love the storyline. I love Roger Stern's novel. But then, Superman Returns came out, and they kind of killed him in that movie a little bit, which is, whenever he falls, the Kryptonite pushing that thing up in the sky, New Krypton or whatever, he falls, and they kind of bring him back in the hospitals. A lot of what they did in the hospitals with the needles bending, that was all from Roger Stern's comic. Okay? Then when the Man of Steel stuff came along, they killed him in that. And then, again, spoilers, guys. Spoilers. For all sorts of Superman stuff. And even though I haven't watched the 4th and final season of Superman and Lois yet, it's been spoiled to me that he dies in that as well. So he's been done today. I really hope that James Gunn does not take the same style and just say, okay, what we're going to do is, to make Superman more relatable, we're just going to kill him. Or I don't know if that's why they do it, but I guess for the shock factor. I'm glad that he's showing us a Superman that gets beat up and hurt, and death looks like it could be on the table. But he's kind of said if people die, they're dead in his universe. So I'm kind of hoping for more of a challenge and struggle that he has with very powerful beings instead of this I can always be brought back at the drop of a hat type thing. Now, why do I? Oh, more stuff that I like actually. Let's not bash it just yet. Um, I like that. I said I like that Grant Morrison knew his comics really well. I like that he sticks to a. See if I can see this in the thing. A classic Clark. Okay, Clark. The bumbling oaf thing is a little bit more Christopher Reeve, but not necessarily. A lot of people think that Christopher Reeve just made that up. No, what he was getting from is the original comics back in. There's a short story I think from '39 when Jerry and Siegel and Joe Shuster were just getting started with Superman. And back in '39, there's a short story. I have it over here, but I can't read it to you. And basically, when you read it, you see Christopher Reeve's Superman in it, even though it's a short story with no pictures, because what happens is Superman goes, saves something, does something, goes into an elevator, something like that. When the elevator opens and all the authorities or whatever are there, it talks about this shrug-shouldered, short, little, scared guy, and all this, and that's what the original vision for Clark Kent was this radically different personality from Superman, which is represented in Superman Allstar. I really enjoy that. I like that a lot. I do. This next one, I kind of like and dislike a lot of this, okay, at the same time. I like that he goes all over the mythos of Superman. He's got Lex, he's got Bizarro, he's got Kryptonians, he's got Parasite, which the Parasite in this one, if you haven't seen it, is terrifying. Like, he's this, look at the bottom of that down there. He's this, like, sucky-mouthed, he's a parasite. It's terrifying. If they have something like that in the movie, I'm not going to be able to bring my kids, especially where Lex here is pummeling the pink blood out of him. That's crazy. But I really enjoyed that he incorporated crypto. I liked that as well. Let me get the other, I don't have the omnibus, so I'm having to switch between different ones. I enjoyed how well they used the Fortress of Solitude, and you can't really see it in this picture, original, I say original. They use the Kryptonian language. It's kind of like the unofficial Kryptonian language. It's basically just every character in the English alphabet they've translated to a Kryptonian letter, which you can kind of read if you can kind of get used to it. But I enjoyed a lot about it. I really did. I hated the dying thing. I hated that he's just looking at his cells, and seeing that he's going to be dying. I hated that the story, it kind of goes all over the place. Like, 1 minute he's in Metropolis, another minute he's in Bizarro World, he's just everywhere. And for me, the dying thing, just kind of slightly mentioning it, was the only thing that kept like a story arc going. And by the end of it, Luthor has powers and all kinds of stuff, but I've never really looked at that story and thought that it was a great story as much as it was a fun read. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments if that makes sense, because I feel like it was so all over the place. It was so broken up. It wasn't really going any one straight direction the whole time. It brought you back to it, but it was there very mildly with the death and all that. But it was a fun read, but it was not a great story, in my opinion. That's how I feel. I want to know if you guys agree with me on this or not. Man of Steel also was influenced by a comic, which I enjoy very much. Here, before we talk about that, let's talk about this. We're also supposedly inspiring the new movie with this, which excites me a lot, because I think this is a far better story than Superman All-Star. This is Superman for all seasons. I like that one a lot. But Man of Steel was inspired heavily by Superman Birthright. When I read this one, this was another like 7, maybe 7.5, 8 for me. And I really enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was very good. But what they did in Man of Steel was the first contact kind of thing they have in this one, which this one is more of a fake first contact. It's not real. What they chose to do I'm looking for a certain page. I haven't read this in so long, I don't even know where it is. What they chose to do in Man of Steel was make it a real first contact story. In this one, it's all hologram. And in this one, what they do with Man of Steel is they really copied the Clark Kent origin. Clark Kent, not exactly, but he goes all over the place, and he kind of figures himself out. They do that in this. I mean, this is a very very big inspiration for Man of Steel, and I really enjoyed that Man of Steel followed that route, even though it wasn't the movie verbatim. It wasn't this verbatim or anything. Um, I prefer myself. They say that this new movie is going Silver Age. I personally prefer Golden Age Superman. I could read these all day long. I've got like a ton of these. I could read them all day long. I love powered down Superman. I love the Superman Clark dynamic of him more of a bumbling oaf style. I love the Golden Age. This is what made Superman famous. Like, you have to realize that. This is what made him popular. This is what made the world love him. And then we've done all these versions where we try to like bring him back to popularity, including killing him and stuff like that. And this is what did it. This is what we should go back to, which is what I believe that Christopher Reeve's movie did, which is partly why I think it did so successfully. Now, my favorite Superman story of all time, nobody's probably going to have it at the top of their list because it's not really even about Superman. It's here. I have it right here. Y'all heard of this one? Superman's Secret Identity. It is not really about Superman. I don't want to spoil it for you. I mean, basically, what happens is this kid, his name is Clark Kent. He was raised in Kansas, and his family thinks it's hilarious that his name is Clark Kent. They named him that because their last name is Kent. They live in a small town in Kansas, and he gets Superman stuff for his birthday all the time. He can't stand Superman. Then one day he wakes up with his powers, and they kind of take the direction like the Batman Begins direction of like, if this were like a real thing, and Superman actually had to be like a real how would that work out? So it's a really cool story and read. Like I said, it's not really about Superman, but I enjoy it a lot. It's my favorite Superman story of all time. It doesn't even have the Christopher Reeve like bumbling oaf Clark or nothing like that going on, which I love the Christopher Reeve Clark and Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And it's kind of shocking that after 5 decades, Christopher Reeve is still like a huge standard for most people, for a lot of people, I should say, for Superman. Now, obviously, Henry Cavill has taken the hearts of some people, but Christopher Reeve, he's still up there. And I kind of explore that in this video right here if you want to see more why Christopher Reeve is that way. Because, I mean, All-Star Superman, everybody loves that story, and that's the Clark Kent that he used, was this one right here. So check it out. Maybe we can figure out together why All-Star Superman is so popular, because it gets a lot of what it does from this right here.